Growing up in a predominantly white community, she understood her uniqueness at an early age. In this episode of the Latino Business Report, you'll meet Kristin Diaz, a Latina millennial who is a proud first-generation Cuban-American and third-generation Tejana. Even though Kristen grew up around radio and television stations, she never dreamed that she would actually work in the industry. Sometimes you don't pick the job picks you. That being the case, Kristen considers herself blessed to be working for the past 15 years in an industry that she loves. Embracing her culture and roots, Kristen has made Being Latina her superpower. She advocates for the Latino community and other people of color. She makes sure their voices are heard and their faces are seen. Kristin Diaz is always representing. She is an award-winning news anchor and reporter. She's smart, determined, and she knows how to overcome corporate obstacles. Not all superheroes wear a cape. Some use a microphone.
Welcome to the Latino Business Report. This podcast covers business, people, and issues of the day from a Latino perspective. The Latino Business Report is brought to you by TAMAC, the Texas Association of Mexican American Chambers of Commerce. TAMAC is the leading Hispanic business organization in Texas since 1975. Now for your host, J.R. Gonzalez.
Hola, amigos, and welcome to another episode of the Latino Business Report. Today we have with us Kristin Diaz. Kristin actually is in the media, and we're not talking about social media, but she is there. But she's in what I consider, being old like I am, the real media, like television, radio, newspaper, things like where you used to get your news before seeing it online. But Kristen is actually a co-anchor over at NewsRadio 1080 KRLD in Dallas. Kristen, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Super excited to speak with you.
I'm excited to have you on the show. You've had me on your show a couple times, so I thought I'd reciprocate and have you on mine. So
I know. I was so excited when you were telling me about your podcast, and I've been listening to it, and it's great. And I'm just so honored to now be a guest.
Wait, you actually been listening to it?
Yes, I have been, and I love it. I think you've had some really great guests on the past, and I've learned a lot too. And I think you and I are both very newsies and loved sponge of information, and we just really love hearing from other people who are just experts in their field, and so I've really enjoyed your podcast.
Well, thank you very much. So between you and my mother, I think my analytics and my numbers have now taken another jump. So thank you for listening. But anyway, no, seriously, one of the reasons I had you on the show is I follow you on Facebook. I follow you on Instagram. I mean, in my days, they used to call it stalking, okay? But now it's following. So I do follow. Yes. And I found it very interesting. I mean, you're a great person, a personality, not only on the radio, but off the radio. And but I understand that you actually been in the news business for a while, and you kind of grew up in the industry. But before we get into that, I want to, for edification of our listeners, you're an interesting personality. Not only are you a millennial, you're Latina. You're what I consider the face of the next generation to actually take over things. But your dad is Cubano, your mom Mexicana. What a combination. Tell me about that. Tell me about that experience.
Tejana, yes, my mom is Tejana. She is from a small town outside of Houston, the Brookshire area. Shout out to Brookshire and all my family that's now in Katy. And my dad is from Regla Cuba and moved here when he was 9 with my abuela and my 2 uncles. And it's made for a very fun household, always something going on. Lots of family and lots of really good food, right? A mixture of both Cuban food and Mexican American food.
So which did you learn first, Spanish or English?
I think I always learned both at the same time, a duality. And I think that's what's so unique about my generation, being first generation Cuban American and third generation Mexican American, otherwise Tejana, was that both languages were always spoken at the same time. So my parents always spoke English to me, but I was always around my abuelas from both sides, who lived with us actually at my house when I was 10 years old, and they both spoke Spanish. So I would only speak Spanish to them. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Like a lot of us growing up.
Yeah.
So you're actually, first of all, congratulations on the job that you do over there at the station.
Thank you so much.
KRLD, it's AM station, right?
It is an AM station. And, now because of amazing technology, we actually also are on HD2. So 105.3 The Fan is our sister station, and we are on their HD2 signal. So pretty cool.
Now, you're actually, for a lot of folks that may not be right, you're actually during afternoon drive time. I mean, you're from 3 to 7, which is a premium slot for, in the radio world, morning drive, afternoon drive, premium slot. So you're actually a co-anchor drive time, and you have, 37,000 people that listen to you per week?
360,000, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I stand corrected. Let me add a zero. 360,000 people, and that's just on the airways, and then you got your online and your digital stream and everything going on.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So you go into a lot of people's automobiles, into their earbuds, and a lot of people hear what you're doing. So let me ask you this: as a reporter, do you ever feel the pressure to make sure that you're reporting correctly? I mean, this is a crazy world right now.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Full of fake news, and you don't know what's real. I mean, what steps do you take to ensure that what you're putting on the air is accurate and correct?
Yeah, 1,000%. I get this question a lot because, I'm in the business of public safety, right? People listen to local news to hear what's going on in their school systems, make sure that the traffic is cleared, make sure that there's, that they are taken care of, right? Their family is taken care of, that they know what's going on to take care of their family to the best of their ability. And that's what I really like to stress about local news versus cable news or things that you see on social media. That's what makes us unique, right? We're right there on the day to day. And so to be able to report accurately, obviously, is a huge number one principle for us. But we are in an age where you almost have to be skeptical about whatever comes across your timeline, whatever comes across your desk as an email or whatnot. So, thankfully, I have a team of veterans that are, here in the Metroplex, a part of my station, that are very, very grounded in the community and know different agencies, know the who's who's. And me as the newbie, I've been, and I say newbie loosely, right? Because I joined this team during the pandemic. I'm, still learning the names of who the, public officers are, public information officers for certain organizations, but we talk to them to basically make sure that everything is accurate as possible. But sometimes we see stuff on the news that, listeners send in to us. Actually, just yesterday, there was something on Facebook. Somebody was trying to send out news about a serial killer, and it was fake. Wow. But through our, diligent reporting and checking with different, with the police officers. Yes.
Different sources.
Because we know to do that, and that is instinctual for us. We were able to actually make the report that, hey, if you see this come across your timeline, this is fake. But it's wild, right? We never had to do that 10, 15 years ago because social media wasn't as big as it is now. So, yeah, we're constantly combating, fake news.
Now, a newbie over there at that station, but you've actually been in business for about 15 years now?
That is correct, yes. I got a great start at CW33 here in Dallas when I was 18 years old, and I was working in production, working the cameras and, checking mics and rolling teleprompter, and was able to make my way up in front of the screen just a few years later.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind, because pre-show we were talking and you said that they used to call you Diaz all through high school and everything.
Oh, yeah.
You're known as Diaz. Okay, Diaz. So how did you get into this? Is this something you studied for? Is this something that you wanted to do? And if so, why?
It's funny because I grew up around it since I was a little girl. And I grew up around it since I was a little girl. And I never dreamed about it. It's really funny. So my mother actually was in television and radio. She was in broadcast, but she was always in media and also in management.
So what did your mother manage?
Most recently, she retired as the GM and vice president of Univision 23, Canal 23 here in Dallas. So Univision Channel 23 and Telefutura, which she started since inception here in Dallas-Fort Worth. And she was their GM VP for 19 years. And prior to that, she was down in the Houston area as the GM for Super Tejano 108 FM. And some of my earlier memories were before that. She was in sales for Telemundo. So I've always been around television and
you grew up in it. You grew up in the industry.
But let me tell you, it was not my dream. I mean, you're going to work with your mom, and you go into this, you're not allowed to play in the studio, and it would be like an ice box in there. There was nothing really appealing to me at the time as a kid. I actually grew up going to a ballet academy. Since I was 4 years old, I've been in dance, all kinds of dance, but primarily ballet. And when we moved to Dallas-Fort Worth, I joined a pre-professional.
Ballet?
Yes, ballet, right?
Like can you stand on your toes?
Absolutely. Jeez. And not typically an art form here in the U.S. that you see a lot of Latinos in. When you go abroad, that's different. But here, I was very, very fortunate to be in a pre-professional ballet company. And that was my dream. I wanted to be a professional dancer.
A semi-pro ballerina, huh?
A long time ago. My knees will tell you differently now.
Wait, I was looking over. So you actually were abroad in England doing foreign student work at one time when you were in school? Yeah.
So fast forward, once I realized that a professional dance career was not going to be for me, I actually started studying radio, TV, and film in college. And again, fast forward to my junior or senior year, I believe it was, the program that I was a part of, our department offered a study abroad program in London. Through the University of London, we were able to go and learn about British media, which was really cool. I got to stay with a host family, and I was there for a little over 6 weeks, and just really got to be immersed in the culture there in the UK. It was really fun.
So let's fast forward and let's bring it to today. Now, I got to admit, I don't even live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I go online and I listen to your show. You do a good job. I really enjoyed it. And you're full of news and information as well. Not only from the news standpoint, but also I like following you on Facebook. You come up with some interesting stuff like the giant molcajete the other day that you posted. I reposted that, took credit for it, of course, but thank you for posting that.
For sure.
But you've been in an industry that is one primarily, unless it's the Telemundo or one of those, it's not necessarily, there's not a lot of Hispanics in the media. But you have managed to kind of navigate those, and primarily looking at your resume, you were in Corpus Christi, you're in Dallas, and moving around. But you were in an environment that was pretty much surrounded by non-Hispanics, a lot of whites, and you navigated that. One of the things that really convinced me to ask you on the show is I was watching an interview in which you said that being Latina was your superpower.
Yeah.
Explain that to us. And let's talk about a little bit about that, navigating that corporate world and moving your way up to a prime, afternoon drive time slot.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm absolutely blessed. And I'm so thankful for the generation of journalists before me who worked really hard to make an opportunity for my generation and the Gen Zers and the Gen Xers after me to be able to make a way into local newsrooms. I think it was, I know there's no thinking. I know it was way harder for the generations before me to make it important to everyone that our voices were heard and that our faces were seen in local news. And so I do give a lot of credit to that. I think as a millennial, I'm stretching between the traditional, as you mentioned, traditional news and up and coming social media and all this wildness that we're seeing now with the platforms to give news and the creative ways to give news. So I'm kind of stretching between the two. But being able to be in the position that I am here in NewsRadio, I actually was talking with my VP of news just yesterday about this casually. We have, a Latina, myself in the afternoon. And I also have a coworker of mine, Susie Solis. She is a powerhouse Latina in the mornings. To have two Latinas in such great time zones on the air, I think is lovely and wonderful and amazing for my station. And
you're like bookends, and you got Latina in the morning, Latina in the afternoon.
Yes, and let's get some men, some Latinos. It's great that we have, 2 Hispanic females, but let's get some men on the air as well. And, let's get some more people in digital and in management positions. There's so many more opportunities. But again, I think it's just my generation is starting to see the fruits of labor of the generations before me.
Well, you're definitely I wouldn't say a pioneer, but you're definitely in the forefront, on the vanguard of a lot of this movement, that the Hispanic population continues to grow and will continue to grow. I'm just seeing that a lot of the media corporate giants are recognizing the fact that they need more Latinas on air.
Absolutely.
So, in a sense, I mean, you are a role model. We
continue to pass the torch, and I really am an advocate for that. Anything that I can do to help anyone else, who's coming up into the ranks and wanting to learn, how I did it, and maybe they can take a couple of, seeds from that and make their own journey. Everyone's journey is unique. And when I talked about, going back to your other question, Superpower, Being Latina, I think that was a lot of self-exploration. Growing up in communities that were predominantly white, or non-Hispanic, as I got into my high school years, I realized my uniqueness, right? Being able to speak both languages, being able to enjoy different types of music and understand the culture behind it, being able to relate to different communities. So when I actually was in high school, I had a lot of different friends. It's funny, we call ourselves the United Nations because I've got best friends that are first generation Pakistani, first generation Iranian, first generation from Nicaragua, so I have friends that are from different, their families were all from different countries, but our principles were all the same, come to America, work hard, get an education, you know what I mean? And I think that was just like, okay, great. This is super cool. And
the pursuit of the American dream.
1,000%. And that's the superpower, right? As having those values, and coming here to America, I'm like, wow, you know what? I'm here to excel. I'm here with the power behind me of my ancestors, my culture, to make my mark here as much as I can.
Would you consider part of your superpower, as many people do have this superpower, is being able to move from one culture to another seamlessly, whether it be, Anglo and English, or whether to just slide into the Latino, Mexican culture? I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I'm sure you find yourself sometimes talking, you switch languages and don't even realize it. But
yeah, absolutely. I have also a lot of Black friends, and we talk about this sometimes, and they call it code switching, being able to switch from one thing to another, depending on what room you're in. Sometimes that can have a negative connotation because you feel like you have to fit in and suppress your uniqueness as a Latino, or as any other culture when you're in an Anglo-centric world sometimes. But I think it is a superpower that we can not only do that in different settings, but we can do that within Latinos. So I have friends that are from Mexico, right? And I have friends that are from Texas, and they are Tejanos, and it's not the same, right? And I think
definitely not the same.
We are not a monolith, right? We say that all the time, but when you can relate on certain levels, I think that's a beautiful thing.
And what did Edward James Olmos say in the movie Selena?
You got to be more Mexican than Mexican, more American than American.
It's
exhausting.
do you ever feel like that? Do you ever feel like you're going through that?
As a kid, I was overwhelmed by that. I remember moving from the Houston area, where I'm originally from, and at 5-6 years old, coming to the DFW Metroplex, and specifically Coppell. And there were no other Latinos in my grade that I remember, maybe one or two in a different class or something like that. But I remember second grade, we had to do dress up as a character or whatnot, and write a paper about them or something like that. And I remember I did my project on Selena. I was a huge Selena fan as a kid. And I remember...
Okay, what young Latina girl wasn't?
Right.
I mean, even guys, but I mean, if you're a little girl, you're like, I mean, your idol.
And that doesn't seem outrageous, right? It seems perfectly normal for us Latinos.
Now, what's not perfectly normal, she's still releasing new albums, but that's another story.
That's another story. But I dressed up as Selena. I had like this sparkly tube top. It was not a bustier. Okay, I was like 7.
All right,
but it was a tube top and black pants. And all of the kids looked at me like, who are you supposed to be? And I was like, I'm Selena.
You were devastated. What? You can't tell?
Yes. I thought I had the best outfit. I had like that matching hat and everything. And they laughed at me and they were like, it's so weird. And like when I tried to play her music, they didn't understand the music. The year after that, I think it was like 97, 98 when her movie came out. Mm-hmm. It exploded, and then everybody all of a sudden knew Selena.
Then they got it. Okay.
Yeah, and then but I never got credit for being the cool kid to bring it to them first.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, Diaz, is you were the trendsetter in your school.
You know what I'm saying? No,
and you were cool before it was supposed to be cool.
The trendsetters.
It was the Latinos who were the trendsetters. You were cool before it was even cool. Okay.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, Selena, you get to the point where sometimes you're like, you're trying to decipher from the two of, man, should I feel embarrassed for representing my culture, or no, you shouldn't. It's your superpower, But I had to learn that. I was
when you're a kid, it's tough. Yeah, I recognize that it is tough, but you need to embrace it. I mean, it's 1,000%. Not going to change. I tell you, people aren't going to look at you there. I mean, obviously, looking at you, you can tell you're Latina. I mean, you can't pass for anything else. But embrace it, be it, live it, represent. Yeah. I mean, that's
and
the
learn
thing.
Because being Latino means so many different things.
Yes,
to each Latino.
And not only learn, but teach.
Yeah.
Teach others about the culture, about the language, about the differences. There are differences, but at the end of the day, there's so many things we have in common. And that's what we need to build on, is the commonality instead of always pointing out the differences.
Yeah.
In the industry, I'm sure you've had you've had a lot of success, but what are some of the most frustrating things that you've experienced? I mean, did you ever want to just quit? I mean, you've been in it for 15 years. I mean, that's a good little run, especially for a millennial that likes changing jobs every other week. But so you've been in the industry for a while. Did you ever want to quit?
Did I ever want to quit? No, I actually had the opposite problem. I couldn't tell myself to stop. I had, I think, the bug in me that was too much of the yes man, trying to prove myself. Yes, I'll do this. Yes, I'll learn that. Yeah, I'll volunteer for this. Yes, and I was burning myself out. And so I think that it was quite the opposite, having to tell myself, slow down.
Who were you trying to prove yourself to?
I think it was not letting my family down, because, they had very high expectations on my success, And
your family, I understand, calls you what, Kristi?
Kristi, yes.
Kristi, ven pa acá, Kristi.
Yes. And and it was, I think, when you are first generation from whatever culture, I think there's such high expectations that you are the golden era. You are the next generation to truly make it, and you're not allowed to have any obstacles, because the generation before you is the one that had obstacles. You're supposed to be the one that's set for life and supposed to skyrocket to the moon. So I think it was really difficult for me to slow down, because then I thought that I wasn't giving it my all and I was disappointing, my family. And that's real, unfortunately. We're also in a business right now where burnout is really a problem. And there are a lot of young multimedia journalists who are coming into this business with the fire in their belly, and it's quickly being put out because low resources, low pay, or just being stretched thin because of all of the responsibilities they now have.
And it's actually work. I mean, it's just not being on air or being a talent and seeing all the. There is a lot of behind the scenes work and preparation and editing.
Yeah, if you think that being in television is all glitz and glam and it's you wearing a pretty dress and putting on makeup, to be in front of the camera, you have got it all wrong. Like, you've got it all wrong.
That's maybe like 10% of the job is that much. I mean,
yeah, and it's a pain in the butt because everybody thinks, oh, you have somebody who does your hair and makeup, right? And it's like, no. No, I'm trying to do that 5 minutes before I go on the air for this, story that I've been working on all day and finally got, soundbite for 15 minutes before showtime. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't understand the hard work that goes behind it. But yeah, I mean, I think the pressure is, for me, it was doing too much. And honestly, I felt that in my body these past 2 years. I've had a lot of folks from, specifically from South Texas, where I spent a lot of my career. They ask me every day. I mean, JR, there's not a day that goes by I don't get a DM or a comment, somebody reaching out saying, when are you going to come back on television? We miss you. Come back to Corpus, or whatever the case may be. And that connection, I cherish more than anything, because this is a very cutthroat business. You're here today, gone tomorrow. Yeah. People don't ask about it. They just keep on moving. When I left, it's like, the amount of love that I've received, and it's almost moving into 3 years I've been gone, it's something that I don't take for granted, for sure.
You want to give a little shout out to the station you were with back there? What station were you with in Corpus? I
was at the ABC affiliate, KRLD, and definitely a shout out to everyone who is still there and that I worked alongside over the years. I had an amazing team that I worked with, and I learned a lot from my co-anchor, my weather anchor that I worked along with. They were just two smart gentlemen that just really showed me a lot. And, I couldn't be more grateful for the time that I was there.
All right, Diaz, I got a question for you.
Okay.
You were on TV, then you went to radio.
Yeah.
Why? It seems almost opposite. It seems like people from radio would want to get on television. You just went from one medium to another, which to me it almost seems counterintuitive. Why the switch?
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one, you might see that as that way, but it's always been on my bucket list. I actually started at KNTU 88.1 jazz station here in Denton, Texas. And I worked on their evening newscast called The Late Edition. So when I started there, I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I really loved the art of audio and broadcasting. And it was after that I started going into television. I remember they actually at my school, we used to have a television station there on campus that broadcast into the Denton community. And they were kind of like, come on over here. So
that was over at North Texas, right?
Yes. So it was on my bucket list to one day be on the radio professionally and not just as a student. Second, it wasn't in my plans. I was coming down to the end of the road in my station down in Corpus Christi, and I was looking for another start. I was really in a space, JR, where I knew that I was burnt out, but I was in such denial that I just gave it to God. I just gave it to God and just said, Lord, where do you want me to be? And when I tell you, I applied literally from Alaska to Hawaii. I didn't know where I was going to land. I didn't have like my next place is going to be here. To me, I was just open. I was like, God, just place me where you want me to be. And when the position at KRLD opened up, radio wasn't even on my radar. But when I tell you something spurred in my spirit when I saw it, I grew up here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I grew up listening to NewsRadio 1080 KRLD. I remember as a kid riding in the car, I'm like, do we have to listen to this station? Can't we just put it on like Britney Spears or something? I didn't want to listen to it as a kid.
So you were actually young listening to AM?
Yes, not me out of my choice. This was the adults around me. The adults around me would listen to it, and I would be in the backseat complaining. Very full circle.
Then you got old guys like me when AM was all that was out there. FM was the new thing in those days.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But I remember listening to it, and when I saw the position open, I said, that's Why it. Not? That's the one. And I applied, and it brought me back home.
Full circle.
Home to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I joined the team right before the pandemic started. And I also count that as a blessing because my parents are still here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And to be able to be close to them during the beginning of the pandemic, where at the time we didn't know what was going to happen, that was huge.
Well, it's been an amazing career. And just hopefully none of your producers or your bosses at the station are listening, but what's next for you?
The sky is the limit. I'm very deep in my faith, and I thank that to my parents for always teaching me to trust God with my life. And, TV, radio, check. We're doing podcasts.
Check.
What's next? Hollywood.
Here we come.
Here we go.
Are you going to put on that Selena outfit again?
I know, right? Here we go. I pray to God that he places me wherever I need to be and somewhere that I can continue to grow, continue to be a representative of my community, and an advocate for my community, whether that be in local news or, streaming is huge now.
Yeah,
and I think that's
is
exciting. There's so many new shows. I mean, there was not shows like this, 10 years ago, so there's been so much explosion and potential for people like myself to dabble in that I'd be happy just to be challenged to get somewhere else that's going to elevate me closer to what my purpose is here.
There you go. And I definitely share your passion for audio. As my dad used to tell me, Mijo, you have a face for radio. Gee, Dad. Thanks.
Hey, let me tell you, my team at KRLD is amazing. I mean, moving from TV to radio, it's been such an eye opener. And I'm such a small little minnow, right? And a big pond. I mean, my co-anchors have been on the air 20, 30 years. And just to be alongside them is such a blessing. It's so cool. And they're so humble and so willing to help. And they're just good at what they do. And it's, you never, like you say, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, and I love that I'm not, because I have really great people to learn from.
Yeah. Like my dad used to say, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounded by a good team, you are going to excel whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, my first year there, we got the National Edward R. Murrow Award for Best Newscast and Best Breaking News. So
see what you did for them? You joined the team and then you win.
That's what they needed, the superpower, right?
Okay. Definitely get a Latina on the team and watch stuff happen. All right. Now, I know a lot of what you do is live. And before we go, I just have to ask, what is one of the most embarrassing moments you've had doing your job?
There are too many to count, JR. Like, I literally should write a book that says, I made a mistake and everybody saw me and everybody knows. Because when you are in broadcast, it is a very humbling business. Because when we make a mistake, we mispronounce something or we say something stupid or, a joke that falls flat. You know what I mean? Like, everyone knows, all your audience knows, you know what I mean?
All 360,000 plus, right?
Yeah. And oh my gosh, when I was in television one time, and you can find this on YouTube, and this is not a funny story, but this was something that happened to me that I was like, I really had to keep my composure. We were starting the 5 a.m. newscast live on the air. We had just introduced ourselves, about to go into the weather forecast because I was a weather anchor at the time. And a house exploded like 3 blocks away from our TV station. Now, our TV station in Corpus was also a couple of miles away from, like 3 exits away from the Naval Air Station down in Corpus Christi. So from within the studio, which has no windows, we thought there was like a plane, had crashed because the whole building shook. The lights were swinging. Our papers had shuffled off the desk. I mean, we were scared out of our minds. We didn't know what the heck happened. And all of a sudden, like a couple seconds later, all of our scanners, our police scanners and whatnot, they started going nuts. I mean, we heard every whistle and chime and beep and call out and code that you never heard before all at the same time. But we didn't know what was going on. And that was caught live on the air. We became the news the day after that. I think it happened like on a Thursday or a Friday. And on the weekend, like Fox and Friends had us on, like our video was everywhere.
You became the news. You became the news.
Oh my gosh. And then as a Latina, I think one time as funny is that we were talking about cicadas. And this is when I talk about being a Latina in the shows, is that we were pitching to our reporter, and she was out in the field doing something, but it was summertime and the cicadas were so loud that we could barely hear her speak. And so when we came back on camera, my co-anchor and I are talking about it, and he was like, oh, I was like, wow, those are the I could not think of the word cicada because in my mind, they're los chicharras. And I was so stuck on calling them chicharra. And I'm like, I'm telling like, a chicharra. And he was like, what's a chicharra? My poor white co-anchor. He's like, I have no idea what you're. I'm like, that's.
He goes, the woman is losing it on the air. She's losing it.
And I remember a lot of people called me in and started laughing. They're like, we knew what you were talking about. You're in South Texas. I got all my people that we represent. But
our people know what chicharras are.
I was so embarrassed that I was like, oh, a cicada. Yeah, that's what they're called.
Oh, God.
I'll never forget that one.
Well, Kristen, or should I say Kristi, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's really been a pleasure having you here. And I do encourage folks, they can find you on Facebook. They can find you on Instagram, and definitely go online and listen to NewsRadio 1080 KRLD from 3 to 7. Yeah, check out the show. I think you'll find it enjoyable. And if nothing else, you know that the news that you are getting is actually real news and not fake news, presented by a team over there that's led by a Latina with her superpowers. Folks, you've been listening to the Latino Business Report. My name is J.R. Gonzalez. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts and visit our website, latinobusinessreport.com. We have a lot of new exciting guests coming up. All right, folks, till then, and we'll see you next time. And Diaz, thank you once again for being on the show.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.